Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Thursday night from the Indianapolis Scouting Combine. Hope everybody's doing well. A lot of testing starting today. Defensive linemen and linebackers getting their drill work underway. Quarterbacks and wide receivers will speak to the media tomorrow. It is going to be quite a sight. We are going to go through, though, however, what Tim Kelly had to say, the Titans offensive coordinator. He met with the media for the first time on Tuesday, and a concerning comment. We're going to do the best thing that we heard from Tim Kelly, and the thing that I heard that would concern me most if I was a Titans fan as well throughout the course of today's show, because it's not been something that we've discussed at great length, Tim Kelly, and I think it's certainly worth spending some time on at this point. Before we get off and rolling, need you guys to share this show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're hanging out with us on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That is in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Facebook, as I mentioned, YouTube and Twitch, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you would be kind enough to do so. Tell a friend to do the same if they have not, so we can all hang out on a regular basis, whether you're watching the primetime show, the Big Orange Podcast, the A to Z Sports Morning Show, or any of the fine offerings that we have for you on this live stream digital sports network. By the way, meant to say congratulations to Austin and Zach. I knew that they were getting ready to roll out a bunch of new markets on A to Z, and I knew that that was coming at some point this month. I did not realize that it would be on the first day of the month. So yesterday, or rather today, they announced 8 new markets: Houston, Indy, New England, Jacksonville, Detroit, New York, San Francisco, and Seattle. So A to Z Sports continuing to grow, and we're very excited about that progress. Anyway, here to talk Titans OC tonight. So without much more, let's go ahead and get this show started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from not the Superbook Sports Studios, but from Indianapolis, Indiana, the site of the NFL Scouting Combine. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by True Math Fitness in the Gulch. I am excited to come home tomorrow because I need to go to True Math Fitness badly. I've been eating nothing but steak and all kinds of fantastic food, a lot of bread up here in Indy. I am looking forward to getting back into my routine at TrueMathFitness.com, where your first workout is free. Superbook Sports. Download the Superbook app today. You can wager on college basketball, the NBA, the NHL, as those regular seasons get ready to wrap up. March Madness right around the corner. Download the Superbook app and get your first bet matched up to $1,000, win or lose. And the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com, your dream address without the stress. The Ashton team will go above and beyond to make sure you have the intel edge you need to succeed. So, what I heard from Tim Kelly yesterday, or rather on Tuesday, there was a couple of different things that I took away. We're going to start with the bad, and then we'll go with the good before we go about these things on the weekend bounce back. Jeff Rubel says, Buck, you slept in. Tisk, tisk, can't hang. Yeah, it's true. So the combine, before we get into this, I mean, you guys know this. Most of you have been up here with me every year that we've been doing this. I think with A to Z, this is our 4th combine together doing the primetime show up here in Indy. And then radio show, the 2nd anniversary of the radio show is actually tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So we've been at this for some time. A lot of you guys have been up here, and a lot of you guys know that combine, there's obviously a purpose: the medicals, the draft process, the interviews, all these things. But it's really spring break for the NFL, and everybody goes out and gets drunk at the same bars and restaurants all week long. And so last night was our big night to go out and to get after it. And I'm walking with a little bit of a limp today, but it's okay. I showed up. I did the radio show. The radio show is one of the better ones that we've done, and I think that the circumstance for tonight, I think I still got a little bit in me. We'll see. I was barely competent though on the radio show. I was having trouble putting my sentences together. Case of the shakes, and of course, anytime you go out with Kirby, you smell like cigarettes no matter what happens. So, walking into the convention center today, like a wounded animal was a bit of a tough scene. But I'm comforted in knowing that literally everybody else in Indianapolis for this event is feeling the exact same way. Jesse Hernandez says, of the concerns that I'm going to bring up, Buck, this is an overreaction, bro. Calm your nappy hair down. Well, my hair is wonderful. Thank you, Jesse. And if I am looking at your profile picture correctly, you could do with a little more of a hairline there as it continues to creep further and further back. But that's okay, my good brother. You are going to make it just fine. I'm sure you will hang on to the last vestiges of that moving forward into the future. Don't come after my hair, Jesse. I will fight you in these digital streets. But what I did hear from the offensive coordinator, the concern that I want to start with is this. And I want to first ask you guys, of course, your Two Rivers Ford take, because that's the custom that we have at this point on A to Z Sports Primetime, your Two Rivers Ford take. The first question that starts off the show: what's the most concerning thing that Tim Kelly said at the Combine? For those of you who have seen his comments, maybe you've read articles, maybe you've seen tweets to this effect, what's the most concerning thing you've heard from Tim Kelly's media availability? What is the most concerning thing you heard from Tim Kelly at this point, given that there were a couple of different things that we went over? Jesse Bailey says, you insult your followers. No other commentator on this show does. You can't take a comment with your pride. No, I'm very, very sensitive, Jesse. And in fact, I will lash out on a regular basis. So don't cross me or I'll do it to you too. But I think that I'm just kidding. I love you guys. But yeah, I do. I will be honest. I am super sensitive about my hair because my hair is like, I got a lot. I'm getting close to 30, guys. It's tough aging at this point, as some of you know. And a lot of my friends are losing their hair at a very rapid rate. So I'm terrified that that's going to happen to me eventually one day. So yeah, Jesse hit a nerve. But it's okay. Jesse's a good sport and I appreciate it. I think that there's a couple of different things to look at. Now, if you haven't heard these comments, there's one that jumped out, and obviously, I think most people heard it and had a little bit of a trigger. I guess I would say, in the same way that I was triggered about my hair, I think that Titans fans were triggered by what they heard from their OC when he was asked specifically about whether he thought last year's offense was predictable. This was Tim Kelly at the podium on Tuesday morning.
I mean, I didn't think we were predictable last year. I think there's some times where, certain games, certain things, weather, people you have available, things along those lines. There are a lot of elements that go into predictability or perceived predictability. So I wouldn't say that we were predictable last year.
Mike seemed to think you were predictable. Mike, in hiring you, one of the things he said he wanted was to be able to go into the same formations out of different personnel, to be less predictable, not signal things were coming with personnel.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we want to do as an offense is we want to be versatile. So whether it ends up being multiple personnel groupings, multiple formations, playing in multiple tempos, just doing things to try to keep people off balance. So that's what we're going to look to do moving forward. We want to put our guys in the best position possible.
You ran an awful lot on first down as well. Didn't you think there was some predictability to that?
I didn't, but again, like I said, there are a lot of things that go into calling a game, and so last year was last year. But moving forward, I can tell you what we're going to do and what we're going to try to do and how we're going to build this offense.
So they were one of the most predictable offenses in football last year. And it's not just by like the eye test, and you guys have seen a lot of these games. Pro Football Focus tracks run, pass rates, right? The amount of times that teams run on first down, then run on second down, then pass on third down as a means of not as a means of, but essentially in terms of effectiveness, almost throwing away a whole down because of how ineffective first down runs oftentimes can be. Now, Derrick Henry has a lot of success across his career, and certainly one could not fault the Titans for handing Derrick Henry the ball more often than not. But there is a degree of predictability that they're no longer in a position physically where they can overwhelm teams the way that they used to. I think that with what I heard there, the one thing that you cannot say about when asked about the predictability of the offense is that you don't think that they were predictable last year. Like, that's the last thing that the fan base wants to hear. That is the thing that will cause, I think, the most amount of strife among Titans fans, because they are then concerned about the idea, well, if we hired you and you don't think our offense was predictable, are you going to run, pass as often as the last guy did? Lead the league in 3 and outs again, the way that they did last year, have as ineffective a first down offense as any in football, particularly with their rushing attack. It's a concern, right? And I think that's the thing that at least struck me as my takeaway, that was like, oh, buddy, like, you gotta understand, you gotta read the room a little better. You gotta understand how people have been consuming this. Even if you're not on social media, there has to be a kind of understanding of where the fan base is at right now and the things that you can't say to set them off. A to Z Sports Primetime is presented by Superbook Sports. Download the Superbook app today. They'll match your first bet up to $1,000, win or lose. Whether you're betting the XFL, college basketball, March Madness coming up, Superbook always offers you the best odds boost and promo bets around. So download the Superbook Sports app. Go to superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So at this point, when you look at the situation for the Titans, the most concerning thing is obviously what he said. Now, I thought Kaharski, who was asking the follow-ups there, asked some very important follow-ups. And honestly, I thought Paul gave him kind of the opportunity to have a little bit of an out, right? To say, well, the idea of, I'm sure everybody in the building would like to be less predictable. And that's something that we're all actively working towards as a group, instead of outright saying, no, I don't think we were predictable last year. It both can be non-answers, but one is obviously slightly more offensive, I think, to a fan base that is suffering with a hugely predictable offense right now, and that the league has very much been able to get a grasp on, that you're not scoring, that you're not sustaining drives, and that this thing has come to a very, very grinding halt in the last couple of years. It's the one thing that you can't say to Titans fans, I think. Jackie Holbert says he said the offense wasn't predictable last season. Yeah, I mean, that is the thing that I think is most concerning. Jason Martinez says AJ Brown straight up said that they never change anything. That's right, on the Raw Room podcast. That is a point that AJ made. He gave the Eagles all the plays. He gave the Eagles all the cans. And when football players talk about cans, that means that you are canning a play at the line of scrimmage. You have options to change out of it based on the calls. If if the quarterback gets to the line, he sees something that he doesn't like, they're going to can the play, basically audibles. There's a difference between audibles and cans, I guess, but there are certain things that a quarterback can audible into, but also have a can call in a certain situation if they don't like what they see when they get to the line. So apparently not much was different, if anything at all was different. My ass was predicting the offense was the couch last year, says Jerome Hurd. How was it not? Well, like I said, it's the one thing, and William Young is correct. What I say is, I think most of you can identify with. You can't say that the offense wasn't predictable last year. People are going to freak. But what William says is so. It doesn't matter what Kelly says, but what he does. And that's exactly right. None of this will matter. He can not think last year's offense was predictable if he comes out and rights the ship. But, it's not great for his first public appearance that way, I think, is a fair assessment. So let's talk about the positive things that I took away from Tim Kelly's media availability, since I've expressed my concerns with you, because there were, of course, some positives, and I think some things that Mike Vrabel has previously identified when talking about one of the reasons why he hired Tim Kelly. So we'll get to those here in just a second, and I'll ask you the question, what was the most encouraging thing that Tim Kelly said on Tuesday? We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com will get you the intel edge you need to succeed with the best real estate team in the business, the best real estate team, the best RE/MAX team in the entire world, as a matter of fact. That's what Gary Ashton offers you, the same way that they offer the Nashville Predators, the same way that they offer so many people, millions of people in Middle Tennessee that have moved to Middle Tennessee, that have moved within Middle Tennessee. They live it. They live here. They love it here, and they are working for the community at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com. So What was the most encouraging thing you heard from Tim Kelly on Tuesday? Andre says he didn't say anything encouraging. Well, I think that's slightly pessimistic. I think we need to go away from run first, pass second, says Ed Champ. Well, I think that many people would agree with you. Let's see. Will Mayberry says he looks, speaking about Tim Kelly, looks like a yes man, doesn't seem creative. Well, I don't know how you can make that assessment based on literally the first time that you've heard this man talk, but whatever whatever makes you happy. I think he was plenty creative when he beat the Titans' ass with Tyrod Taylor. I think there was plenty of creativity on display there when he was calling plays for the Houston Texans and absolutely dummied you in a game at home. Now, that's also a game that Ryan Tannehill threw, I think, 4 interceptions, and Des Fitzpatrick, you were down to your Des Fitzpatrick of receivers, and he was running incorrect routes that was causing the quarterback to throw interceptions and all kinds of different stuff. But what was the most encouraging thing that you heard? William says putting players in positions to succeed. Scary says, what did the OC say that was questionable? Well, we've already done that bit, Harry, so you can rewind the show at your convenience or listen to the podcast. But I will say to you that the best thing that I heard Tim Kelly talk about was kind of identifying, understanding the flow of a game, because nobody can dispute that not only, did the offense, I think, lack a degree of creativity and the injuries were terrible, but there were just moments where there would be these just weird kind of brain fart situations with the Titans on offense that would cause, near catastrophes or plays that would blow up in your face. And I know any bad play is a disaster and all of the coaches' fault. And any good play is, a tribute to the players. And, the coach is the smartest person of all time when everything works. So I understand both sides of things. But there is an element of just not being able to quantify being comfortable within the flow of a game. And I think that's something that Mike Vrabel respects about Tim Kelly. It's something that he's put into practice in his years as an OC in the league, and something that the Titans could certainly stand to do with a little more of.
I think the flow of the game is important. I learned early on when I was calling plays that you can go in with the best game plan and with hey, we're going to run the ball 30 times today, and then you get into halftime and you're like, we shouldn't run the ball 30 times today. So there's the flow of the game is huge, and you got to be able to figure it out quick. Because if you wait until halftime, or if you wait until the third quarter to make an adjustment, a lot of times that ends up being too late. So being able to adjust to what we see, hopefully the game plan that we've put together is working, and there's not just a complete overhaul, but in break glass in case of emergency. Sometimes you have to make a 180, and I know Mike referenced the Houston game that we had in 21. Where that was not the plan, but whatever we had in the first half wasn't working, and we needed to change if we wanted to give ourselves a chance to win the game. So, making sure that I have a good feel for the flow of the game, and then being aggressive when it makes sense to be aggressive. I think there's a fine difference between being reckless and being aggressive.
So that's Tim Kelly, and I think that's as big a problem under Todd Downing as there was any other problem under Todd Downing, is that they didn't seem to be able to evolve and adjust in certain circumstances. Now, you would say, like, where is the evolution going to come from if you keep trotting out Dennis Daly at left tackle, and all of those things are compounded, right? But I think, Arthur, and I talked about this on the radio show today, you guys wanted to fire Arthur, like desperately wanted to fire the guy who you now hold in the highest esteem as the latest of the greatest of the latest Titans offensive coordinators, right? And it took him about 9 games to figure out how to use Derrick Henry. Now, the quarterback change did help substantially, and there's no taking away from that. And if you guys remember, it was my understanding that they wanted to make that change to Tannehill from Mariota before that season began. So maybe they don't sputter the way that the Titans did before Marcus was ultimately benched. Now, with Arthur, the Carolina game is something that I highlight, that there was a Dion Lewis-centric game plan in the first half. And, it was working to an extent. Dion Lewis had a fumble, a turnover that was very, very costly. They came back. They were trailing in the first half. They came back in the second half. They got themselves back on track. Derrick Henry was the focal point of it and really started to be the focal point the rest of the way through. That kind of felt like a turning point for Art. And listen, it helped that they could run at will on people. They can't do that anymore. At least they haven't. in the last 2 seasons. They may still be capable of it, but it's going to take a little bit of a remodel to get that back up and rolling in the way that they used to have it. And once they were running the ball the way that they could, then you can get creative with the shot plays because teams are selling out to stop Derek. There's nothing they can do. It doesn't matter if there's 9 in the box; they're going to run on you anyway. And then more often than not, there would be shot plays. There would be creativity. There would be Derrick Henry and the King Cat throwing touchdown passes to Corey Davis against the Ravens. Like there's all those kind of things that you can do once you're able to run the football the way that the Titans were in that season in particular. Now, looking at the way that Tim Kelly is going to come into this thing, it's tough to see what the path forward is without understanding more of the personnel dominoes, the puzzle pieces that'll be put into place over the next coming months. But certainly, the change was necessary. They're going to move forward how they move forward. And the best that you can hope for right now is that the guy who you're employing, who is probably going to run a very, very similar style of offense, if not largely the same offense, is going to come out with some different tendencies that might put you in better positions to succeed and be a little more creative at the helm of things with a staff that's as big under Mike Vrabel as I think it has been at any point in the history of the Titans. So let's do a weekend bounce back and let's wrap things up for our last Combine show. Been a lot of fun to hang out with you guys up here at Indianapolis. We're going to do one more radio show up here tomorrow. Coach Mack will be here. We might have some friends stop by the table as well as we wrap up our Combine coverage for the week. Before we do the final segment, a quick reminder, if you're on YouTube or on Twitch or on Facebook for that matter, like the video if you would be kind enough to do so. And we would be grateful for you that way. Those likes do go a long way, and you guys are always really, really good about getting that done for us. So while you do that, we'll move on to the weekend bounce back. Who needs to bounce back the most in sports this weekend? Let me know on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. And we will discuss at length together right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by True Math Fitness. I told you earlier, can't wait to get back to True Math Fitness. I'm going to feel like hell once I get back into the gym because I have not done a damn bit of working out other than we're walking a lot. We're walking a lot in Indianapolis because everything is walkable and the convention center and the combine footprint is massive. But it's not the kind of work that I need to be getting done, and that is the kind of work that True Math Fitness provides to me in their group classes. I love them because no workout is ever recycled or repeated. They keep your mind active. They keep your body active and adjusting as you seek to improve on your various fitness goals. They'll set out a plan for you. Worth and his team are exceptional at it, and they have all manner of affordable options where memberships are concerned, even your first workout free at TrueMathFitness.com. Bert says, pull your steps up. The people want to know. So producer Robert is demanding the step count. All right, I'll give you the step count. We can do that. Let me pull up my handy dandy Noom app. So prior to going out tonight, we are at 11,464 steps. After going out yesterday, we were at 11,025 steps. Tuesday, our first day at the Combine, we weren't here all day, but we got here at about 8,116 steps. So the steps are flying fast and furiously, which is good because I've done nothing but eat steak, bread, and we went to an incredible Italian restaurant up here, which of course was chicken parm and lots of pasta. And I've been drinking a lot of red wine and tequila the past couple of days. So all those things need to be walked appropriately. Not run, pass, but walk, and then pass the bleep out. At this stage is what my Combine strategy will be. Either way, your first workout free at TrueMathFitness.com in the world's largest endorsement read. So who needs to bounce back most in sports? Let's see. Big Dog says, I need to call True Math Fitness. Do it. I'm telling you. I'll go. Listen, I'll go. You tell me what classes you're going to, Big Dog. I'll meet you there. It's a great time. I really do enjoy those things. And I've seen a couple of you guys show up. It is the spot to be. Bruce Pearl needs to bounce back. He was big mad last night. Yes, Alabama won the SEC regular season title. They beat Auburn in overtime, and there was a couple of controversial calls that were a discussion point. But either way, Alabama gets it done. Sam Cardenas says Texas Longhorn basketball needs to bounce back. Titan the Tiger says Buck just drop and get some push-ups. Yeah, but I'm not going to do that in the middle of the convention center. I mean, I could, but then I'd just be like all the other meatheads who are bragging about, oh, I used to be able to run a 4.5 at, whatever my athletic peak was in high school. Get the bleep out of here. Buck runs a 4.3, says Ario Carter. I haven't run. I think the fact you guys want to hear something really embarrassing. I mean, I've never been. I don't mind running. I really don't. Like, I don't think it's great the older that you get, because I think it can really tear your knees up unnecessarily when there's just better ways to work out that don't tear you up long term. But like, I don't mind running like distances, but I'm definitely not fast. I think at the height of my athletic career in high school, I was probably like, if I broke a 5, it would it would have been very, very impressive. I do not move with a great rate of speed, but very, very methodical. I think I move with a purpose, but not necessarily all that fast. I like to run at my own pace, if you know what I'm saying. Ken Caniff says, "Bro, slow AF." Yeah, I definitely am slow. A 5.0 would be a godsend. If I could run a 5 right now, honestly, I bet I could run a faster 40 time now than I did in high school, just because they've got me running like hill sprints and shit like that on a regular basis as a part of conditioning classes that I go to. But, conversation for another day. I'll tell you who needs to bounce back. Jalen Carter, the Georgia defensive lineman, has been embroiled in legal trouble associated with a fatal car crash on January the 15th that saw one of his teammates and a recruiting staffer lose their life. Jalen Carter reportedly, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, drove away from the scene of the crime, then misled police about his whereabouts during the incident, and now has been charged with 2 misdemeanors at this point, and has, I believe, an arraignment on April the 18th, which is just a few weeks before the draft. Jalen Carter, who flew to Athens yesterday to meet with the police, and then flew back to Indianapolis today to go through his combine interviews. Man's in need of a bounce back right now.
Yeah, Jalen Carter considered to be one of the top draft picks potentially heading into this week. Obviously, the last 24 hours was nothing anyone could have imagined. Jalen Carter was here in Indianapolis, met with several teams on his first night here. That had been the plan, was not scheduled to work out. Then, of course, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution breaks the story that he is that his role in a fatal crash on January 15th involving the passing of 2 Georgia students is now under question. Then he was the subject of 2 arrest warrants for misdemeanors, reckless driving, and racing, allegedly racing with another person at past 2 a.m. in the morning. He returned to Athens last night, turned himself in, was in jail, was bonded out for $4,000. Now back today in Indianapolis to continue to do the measurements. Medical is already done, potentially to meet with some teams. We are going to actually see him on the field cheering on his position group mates in a couple minutes. And this has been interesting, guys, because teams knew there were some character concerns around Jalen Carter. They did not know of his involvement in this. The information gathering process has already started and is critical as it pertains to his draft status.
So that is Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network kind of elaborating on the latest details around Jalen Carter. I mean, obviously the legal situation is the most important discussion here. People will talk about how it impacts the NFL draft, and it will, of course, if this continues to be swirling around him. In the weeks and months now leading up to the draft, he has been viewed as a top 5 pick, and I think it now makes Will Anderson, the Alabama linebacker, the top non-quarterback by consensus in the draft, where Jalen Carter was pushing, and could, the argument could be made for Carter over Will Anderson, depending on what your needs are. But not an ideal situation for anybody involved. And obviously Jalen Carter, who was around the situation and said to be caught up in a racing incident when there is loss of life the way that there was, and there were blood alcohol levels tested from the 2 people whose lives were lost in the wreck after the fact. I think it's just a very, very complex story, and there will continue to be more detail on it. It's going to do it for us on the Primetime Show this week. Thanks for hanging out in Indy. Hope you guys enjoyed the content and conversations that we were able to provide. We'll have many more when we get back to Nashville. I'll be home probably 6 or 7 Central Time tomorrow, and we will certainly get back in the saddle, get back in the swing of things. We'll have some vacation coming up though next week, so we will keep you guys informed with that at this point. Meanwhile, have a great rest of your evening. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget the radio show tomorrow from 10 to 1 Central Time on 104.5 The Zone in the final day of our combine coverage. We'll have talked to the wide receivers, Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt. We'll have talked to the quarterbacks, and we'll certainly be talking more about the Titans and what their situation has been in the last couple of weeks. See you guys on Sunday night on the Primetime Show.
Are you surprised to hear that?
Certainly not. The first year we took it to the limit. And I was in Miami with my new beach house. Well, it was a couple minutes from the beach.
It's been 20 years since then. We haven't been too strong in the last few years.
Oh, we've been strong. We're just playing by the rules. You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.